Pretty
right?
fucking sad. Pretty fucking depressing.
Right? That like so many people just like bend over like, okay, yep, we just accept that can't hang hammocks on a concrete pier built to withstand hurricanes. And okay, what? Nobody
Just
pushes back?
it's just their way of calling you fat. They're just jealous. That's all.
I don't get like
They're just grown-up kindergartners. They think they still have to ask permission for everything. So should we.
yeah, like
Get
public
your hall
school
pass.
conditioning
Yeah.
definitely it's working. It has worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Get your hall pass. Get your hall pass out. You know.
Exactly.
Yep.
Please sign my permission slip to go on the field trip.
Yep. Yeah. So, Brandon, I was looking at the description of your book and like the AC/DC current.
Oh, love is a battery. Yeah.
Yes. Laws of battery? Is that love is a battery?
Yeah.
Love is a battery. Yes. So, does like AC/DC, is that like masculine, feminine?
It can be. Yeah. I mean, that's part of what I go into in the book, but it's there's more to it than just that. It can be like push pull energy. You know, all sorts of things. Right.
Oh, okay. So, how do you feel that has applied in like all of this standing for our rights?
Um. Well, it's definitely more of a masculine energy. I mean, it's that kind of like drive or penetrate or piercing energy. You know, it's kind of like sexual energy in a lot of ways. You know, which we've talked about. You know that. Every time I talk to you, pretty much we talk about that. My choice, by my choice. You try
You
not
bring it
to,
up.
and I just kind of say it anyways, right? That's the typical conversation we have. But the but yeah, it's you know, it's for me as a man, like I say in a lot of my other shows and stuff like that, you know, I think this is a bit of a rite of passage. I was a boy until I was about 30, 38 years old, 37 years old when I started doing this, and then I became a man. And you could say to yourself, well, what the hell does that mean? It means, I think as a man, I think Zamparian in The Alabaster Girl does a really good job of explaining this. He says, masculine beauty is standing for something bigger than himself, bigger than his family, bigger than the whole wide world that he could never hope to accomplish in a single lifetime. Essentially, I'm like paraphrasing, but that's essentially masculine beauty according to the Alabaster Girl, the book, right? So I agree with that. I think that's correct. So it's masculine beauty is the goals and driving force, which explains a lot of things. Explains why women are so attracted to the starving artist, who's an amazing artist, who she sees something wonderful in him, or something where a woman sees something amazing in a man and wants to bring that out in him. You see that a lot in a lot of relationships. So I think those two things kind of plug together, and that's how it works. And it's a woman who sees a type of masculine beauty in a man, but the problem is the man might not see it himself, so that becomes a bit of an issue, right? So, and in fact, nobody might see it, and in fact, it might not even be there. That's the other question, right? So there's all these questions, right? It just depends, right? But beauty is in the eye of the beholder, too, right? So if a woman sees masculine beauty in a man, then as far as she's concerned, then there's masculine beauty there. And then the day that she stops seeing it, then it's not there. It's almost like it's sort of like naturalization or location in law. You are where you say you are. It's the same idea. You love it because you say you love it. It's literally that simple, right?
Yeah. If you decide that it's your purpose and passion, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes that. I had a question, but I forgot it.
That's good. That's a good sign. That's good.
So where do you kind of see the, like you were saying, the AC/DC from your book isn't just masculine, feminine. It could be push pull. Like, when, especially you dealing with all the court stuff and everything, like, kind of when do you feel yourself in your masculine, and when do you go into more of the feminine side, or
do you?
Yeah, or do you?
Yeah, the feminine side is diplomatic activities, relationships between nations, relationships with non-combatants. Diplomatic is actually a larger portion of what I do, which is a lot more feminine energy. But the attention that I get and the overall attention of my platform and the shocking, wild part, it's just like I tell people all the time. We could post videos all the time of us having really beautiful, wonderful, shaking hands with cop type interactions on the side of the road. They're going to get like 300 likes, but if you have a video where, you know, someone's getting blasted, they're unloading a whole clip on some dude's whole family and setting the car on fire with a Molotov cocktail, you're going to have 14 million views. So sorry to tell you, but that's just kind of the way it is. And so we go around and people are like, oh, I love those videos where, you know, the haters are like, we love those videos where, you know, people get their windows smashed and all this stuff. And it's just because of the entertainment and everything else, you know, nobody wants to see a nice, friendly interaction with cops. I see them all the time. They're not going to get any views, you know, so.
That is a very good point. Even though, like, the feminine is magnetic and, you know, the attractor, or I guess, like, actually feminine body more so. But, yeah, I love your benevolent curiosity. And that is definitely more of, like, the feminine diplomatic. And that is the approach that we have taken in this situation of standing for our rights. But, yeah, what really got the attention was when masculine energy came in and threatened to cut our ropes. And now that
you guys have a big battle on your hands, now that you guys have got your sexy little army uniforms on, now everybody wants to come and look. They don't want to see you half naked in elf uniforms. They want to see you fully clothed in army fatigues, you know. So which is kind of gay, by the way, for anyone. I'd much rather see you half undressed than see you with fucking army fatigues, by the way. I vote army fatigue. I vote half naked, please. I'm in the minority, apparently, but that's my vote, you know. So, you know, it just doesn't... I mean, you can tell in that comment section that these people are fucking miserable. That's the thing. You can tell. These are some miserable, depressed fucks. You want to know the most miserable people on the planet? It's so fucking funny. The most miserable fucking people who literally, I actually believe at this point, after doing this for so long, that they are either skirting upon doing something to themselves, or they are like seriously thinking about doing something to them. And this is like dark. This is like some dark shit. People who just have a picture of an animal on their profile picture, and there's no other. Or if you click on the profile picture and it's an animal, and you scroll and it's just animals, and there's nothing else. I'm telling you, I've you doing this for years. Those people are this close to ending themselves.
Ooh.
And I saw a bunch of those on your comment section. So I know it's a really dark conversation to have. It's a really dark conversation to have, but I'm telling you, like, just plug that in the back of your head and just like park it there and just like take a look. And whenever you see someone with a little animal or something like that on their profile picture, there's nothing else there, and you click on it and then click on their comments, and you will see what I'm talking about. It's a wild little rabbit hole. It's like a little micro rabbit hole, right? But
thank you for that psychoanalysis. I never would have. That comes from experience.
A lot of experience talking with these people, arguing with these people. I've invited them on debates, and then I finally realized, I was like, holy shit. Their self-esteem is so low, they won't even post a picture of themselves because they hate themselves. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, that was a profound statement there. Mm-hmm.
So you got to watch out too. You got to think to yourself, yeah, well, if you're communicating with somebody who hates themselves, the conversation is going to be awful. They're just going to be toxic. They're toxic to everyone. Mm-hmm. They don't hate you. They hate everything. You just happen to be a part of everything. They're just blasting their toxic hate all over everywhere, and you just happen to be like in the fucking way of one of their blasts, basically. I mean, so the thing is that people think some of this.
They kind of don't know what to do.
Well, they don't care. The thing that you don't understand too is you want to defend yourself and you want to fight them and you want to make them wrong. You can't make them any more wrong than they already make themselves. So it's a pointless conversation.
Yeah. So online we've just ignored all of everything. We appreciate everyone who's been standing up for us, everyone who has signed our petition, but you haters, like, we just aren't even watching. We're definitely not going to stand up for ourselves and defend anything. The only people that we are standing up to is going to the city council meetings. And those are the only votes that matter to us, the only opinions that matter. So
yeah, the way I handle my stuff is if someone has like a real concern, or they aren't like spitting vitriol, but they're actually like saying something that actually has some information in it that might be kind of fascinating for like an actual debate, meaning like the person is obviously proven through their comment that they actually have the ability to process information, but they may contain some false information right now. I will entertain those people for like a short time. As soon as they start to convert from that, or maybe they're secretly feeling that way and they try to hide it by trying to make it seem like they're diplomatic. As soon as they show their true colors, or as soon as they freak out, or as soon as and I've had many instances where those are like, I flip those, I flip those around and they go, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. And then, or you think they're going to interact with you. You say something and then boom, their true colors come out and they totally flip out. So what I do is anyone who's in the flip out zone, I just block them. Anybody who's kind of in the middle, I will do like one single response. And then typically after that one single response, you'll get something back. Actually, a lot of times you won't, because the thing is that if you say anything that does negate what they said, then they'll not respond on purpose, because they know that they're walking down, they're going to get crushed in like 3 seconds, right? So either they won't respond or they will. And, oftentimes when they do respond, it'll either be they show their true colors, they go batshit crazy, or they actually have like some real interesting, fascinating things to actually talk about. So I'll usually give people the benefit of the doubt for a single comment. Meaning like one transaction. And then after that one transaction, usually at that point, it's like, do I continue this or am I going to block you? It's pretty much already figured out by that point. And then there's all the positive stuff, which is fine. That's how I do it. I block people all the time, every day. I tell all my fans and everything, blocking people is a sexual experience.
Yes, I love when you send out your cleaned email list. You're like,
yeah,
you made it.
Yeah, so for me, it's just you have to get away from trying to be right. You have to get away from trying to handle the opinions of people who hate themselves, and you have to get away from people who have obviously proven they have no ability to think. So you're just fighting with an unthinking, confused, self-hating tornado of trash, and you're going to get... all it's going to do is just depress you, anger you, and cause you issues, because they're like a virus. And by interacting with them, you're essentially sort of... I literally think of it as like a fucking STI. Like, you're literally getting like a sexually transmitted disease by interacting with these people. And I think if more people thought that way, and these people were to get less and less traction with their comments, maybe they would go ahead and... I want to say something really dark. Maybe they'll go ahead and finish what they've been thinking about for a while.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there you go.
I hope that they just wake up and realize how brainwashed they are and programmed. If you're just...
Yeah, that's masculine versus feminine. See, right here, we got it. Right here, we got it. I'm like, yeah, bitch, do it. And you're like, no, love yourself, relax, realize some things. Come on,
Wake up.
I'm like, do it, bitch. You know what I mean? You fucking pussy.
We got the nurturing side covered over here.
No, it's true. Yeah. As soon as I said that, you're both like, no, wait.
We're like, don't
go there.
We can talk this out. We can handle this. diplomat, see? Diplomatic. No, wait, hold on a second. Let's have a meeting. You know what I mean?
But you know what? I gotta say, like, it is much harder to stay in this diplomatic feminine side without, like, okay, I will say it's much easier to stay in this diplomatic feminine side knowing that we've got the knowledge that, you know, we've learned and have masculine energy like you to help back up and support, because otherwise the feminine gets bulldozed. That diplomatic, if you're constantly diplomatic,
Yeah.
you will get bulldozed. And so being able to bring out that, like, hey, actually here's Supreme Court rulings, and like bring out some of those less diplomatic things, and then especially when, like I said, when we know that there's real masculine men backing us, makes it a lot easier to stay in the feminine and that diplomatic side. So thank you.
And, you know,
Yeah,
I feel like too, as women, whether it's right or wrong or whatever it is, it just is. But I feel like people really don't like seeing an angry woman. So, you know, it's like you're not going to get very far if you go into that right away. You know, I think it is better, especially as a woman. Like, it's more acceptable for a man to just come in and like lay the hammer down. But for women, you know, people are like, whoa, that's too much. So I think it is better to, you know, for us anyways, approach it in a little bit softer way, a little bit more diplomatic, and be willing to work through things and partner with the city even, and and we'll see what's necessary down the line, but hopefully we can just stay in our feminine.
Yeah, it reminds me of all the stories and all the jokes I've heard about how guys are out front yelling and screaming about various things when it all started 5 minutes ago when the wife told him she didn't like it and she wanted him to do something about it. So there's a lot of that too, where you have the man that's doing something and getting out there and yelling and smashing the table and smashing his fist down because his wife 5 minutes ago just said, fucking do it, you fucking pussy. So you also have that too, right? But the thing is that it's I think Teddy Roosevelt really kind of nailed it on the head. I think what it really comes down to is to speak softly and carry a big stick.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what that means in translation is you don't need to step into your masculine all the time, constantly, and be in it and fucking swim in it all the time. But the thing is, it should be there, and people should feel and know you've got it, and you'll use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They got to know where the boundaries are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like diplomatic up to a certain point, because what 99% of people are doing is they're speaking softly, they're pretending they have a big stick, they don't have one, and other people pick up on that, especially women, because women pick up on fucking everything. So that's another problem, is that you got to think too, is that if you are interacting with a woman, for example, I deal with a lot of female attorneys, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll pick up on every motherfucking thing, you know, secret thoughts, and, you know, if you're bluffing and all this kind of stuff. So you as a man, you know, a woman is a lot more keen on all these various things. So if you are speaking softly and pretending that you have a big stick when you don't, she's gonna steamroll the fuck out of you, you know, because she'll pick up on it like instantly, right? So it comes down to integration, meaning like, you know, like I'm always operating off of, you know, I'm not so sure if I have a big stick. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I'm telling you right now, I'm working on it every day, and I will soon. That's kind of how I think about it in a lot of ways, you know. Because, like, for example, even my SBA case, right? I've been struggling. That case was filed in like October or something of last year, and I had a huge breakthrough on it like a week ago.
Yeah.
So, but like I've been working on it and thinking about it nonstop. So like I didn't really have a big stick, or maybe I thought I did and I didn't, or I don't know, back 2 or 3 months ago, but now I do, right? So, you know, it's a willingness to learn, a willingness to go there as needed. And, you know, it's a fascinating conversation, because even in the Alabaster Girls, Zamparian talks about this. He's interviewed a lot of really, really powerful women and probably banged them, honestly. You know, like lawyers, huge business CEOs, multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, and all this. And he says that every single one he's ever talked to secretly, like privately behind closed doors, would give it all up for romance. So, it's an interesting conversation because it comes down to, all of this crazy gender stuff that we've seen over the last 70 or so years. It was just 70 years ago. Women were women. They wore dresses. Men were men. They wore suit coats and ties and a hat and slacks and dress shoes just to go to the fucking grocery store or the gas station. And you think to yourself, you look back now and you look at those photos and you go, oh, they're so well dressed. It's so cool. But back then it was just, there's nothing to it probably. It had no significance.
It's just normal.
It wasn't pretty or unpretty or weird or strange or normal or not. None of that was. It's like going down the street and seeing concrete. Oh, wow, cool. Look at this concrete, No, it's like, because it's everywhere. It's just what everyone does. It's just what you do, end of story. So the thing is it's, the only way you start getting people being like, oh my God, that's so cool or so pretty or so this is because it's something different. So if half the country was still doing that and the other half of the country continued to dress the way that they are, then now all of a sudden the people who are dressed like that are going to get a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. It's all relative, right? So, it's an interesting conversation where the benefit of the situation that we have now is when I go and put on a really nice suit and I walk around outside, I get the kind of energy from women that most women get from men, which is fuck me now energy, So, there's a benefit to this whole situation too, where it's like you can go and buy a $500 suit, dress up in it, go down to the fucking bar and probably pick up the sexiest girl there. You know what I mean? So it's people are not seeing the silver lining because there's always positives to every situation, in my opinion. So, the thing is that, this whole male, female, masculine, feminine thing, has gotten really confused over the last several decades. But, part of that is, a lot of that's economic too, because women who are single have to survive too, So it's sort of like, how does all this work? And then now with all this stuff coming out about how, marriage is the biggest crock of shit in the world, it's a perpetual threesome with the state, and it's literally just a business that actually relocates you into the District of Columbia. It's an awful, awful thing. Marriage license specifically. Yeah. It's a very, very, very beautiful thing. Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful thing that has been Sodom and Gomorrah to the absolute highest possible level anything could possibly be fucking. So now we have all these people, the divorce rate is probably going way up just because of my work, honestly, on paper. So, so we have the situation where, what do we do about all this and how does this work and all that? It's just, I don't care who you are, male or female. The real truth of the matter is I think 80% of life is probably easier for women to handle. And then I think 20% of life is probably easier for men to handle. And why I say that is because when everything's okay, or there really isn't anything to fight or have combat about, women, I think, excel in those areas better because of their empathy and because they have a better ability to pick up on intentions, unspoken thought, and body language. So women have been reading faces their whole lives. Men wouldn't know how to read a face if you put a revolver in their mouth. Okay, so it's one of those things where when there isn't really an issue, and that's why a lot of the feminist jokes, you know what I mean? No one needs men until their tire's flat or something, you know what I mean? So there is some truth in that, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, no, and you might not need a man until fucking, you're slinging up shit under the pier and fucking, a weird gay white guy, maybe gay, you gay? What's going on? You gay? Comes down and starts talking shit, and now all of a sudden, you're dreaming of a fucking, Terminator with his shirt off and an M60 in his hand with bell-fed, 50 caliber rounds. You're just like, it's just a sexual thing at that point, So, it just kind of how it is, So, I think guys actually have a harder time in life overall, but I think that the areas that we're needed when we are needed is extremely important, and we risk our lives. I think if you were to
Yeah.
break masculine usefulness or the utility of a man down to its ultimate simplicity, is we're willing to die. If in my opinion, it's not just like for nothing or whatever. It's just that we believe in something so much that we're willing to die to make it happen. And the thing that's so crazy about that is when you're willing to die for something, very few people ever actually do. So the thing is that it's sort of like the whole universe is like a tester universe. It's sort of how women test men all the time when they first start meeting them, and they test them and they say things and they do all these different things to kind of test them and filter them out. It's kind of like the whole universe is doing that to everyone. Yeah. Yeah, I know all the female secrets, ladies. Don't even try. So it's sort of like the same idea as Teddy Roosevelt saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. It's sort of like when people know you have a pistol on your hip. Now the next question is this stupid bitch won't even use it, right? Now once you have a pistol and they know you'll use it,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden there is no combat. There is no issues.
Yep.
So that's really what it is. That's the masculine edge. The masculine edge is, I have a big stick and I will use it, and you're about to find out. And the thing is that, if you really are and you really will, they will pick up on it, especially if it's a woman. But even men at that point will pick up on it.
Yeah, the lack of fear. When they sense
Yeah.
that, like, ooh, they're not scared of anything.
Yeah, that confidence
Yeah.
and courage.
Yep.
The definition of the word courage, by the way, no one knows this, is to do something even though you're terrified.
Mm-hmm.
If you dig through enough of the definitions and keep looking at it and look at it in a lot of big dictionaries, that's essentially what courage is. Courage is not a lack of or absence of fear. People think that courage means you don't have any fear. That's fucking insane. That's batshit insane. That's ignorant as fuck. Courage is you're terrified to the point where maybe you can't even think, you're sweating, you feel like your world is spinning, you're going to fall down, but you do it anyways.
Yep. You go on despite the fear.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. You stand up despite your knees shaking.
Yeah. It really does all come down to energy and energy flows and like the AC/DC and kind of all that stuff, which is why I wrote that book.
Yeah. So, yeah, tell us more about the book and how long did it take you to write it? Like, what? I mean, I read the description. I have not read the book, but
Yeah, what inspired you to write it?
Well, it's essentially a book on how to fuck like a horse. I just wanted to see your reactions.
I don't even know what that means.
And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And Blue was like, oh my God, this son of a bitch.
yeah.
Always something unexpected.
Yes. Oh,
You what?
Brandon.
Blue, yeah, see, that was the reaction I got from Blue. Blue was like, oh, Brandon. This son of a bitch. He's good. He's good 15 minutes. He's doing really well. So it's what made me write the book? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was trying to figure out women my whole life. That was my big, huge issue since I was like 15, 16 years old. Like, how do they were just like alien race to me. I mean, and I could not figure it out even in the slightest. I mean, really just awful. Right. So I spent a lot of my teenage years and then a lot of my adult life actually trying to figure it out. And I was in like all sorts of men's clubs, and I was reading books, and I was doing seminars and weekend getaway trips and male empowerment and pickup artists and all this stuff, everything under the sun, moon, and stars you can think of, right? And after doing that for years and years and years, a lot of things started to click for me. And that's basically essentially what sparked writing a book about it.
So you said that, like, men can't, well, actually, David Data said that men can't really, like, be in a relationship until they've found their purpose. Do you feel like that has helped you since you found your purpose in the last few years?
I mean, yeah, but the thing is that the problem that most men face, I think, would be even more simple to say that the women become the purpose. And I think that that's exactly what women don't like. I think most of what we see in the world today is men trying to make women their purpose and women not liking it, or thinking they're gonna like it at the beginning, and then as they get into it, they realize, fuck, this is not what I thought this was gonna be, and then so you have this marriage or something like that, and it goes on and on and on for 10 years when it should have been killed off as soon as the woman realized that this is not what she thought she was signing up for. And it's just, she thought all these things were going to be a certain way, and she thought it was going to be wonderful and like something you see in a movie, and then she gets there and she's bored as fuck and she doesn't get banged anymore, and it's just awful. Or whatever, you know?
I mean, as you know, the women are supposed to follow, the men are supposed to be the head of the household. So if he doesn't have a purpose beyond her, then she kind of takes over leading.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
then that puts her into her masculine and she can't stay in her feminine.
Yeah. Yeah, the craziness of our world today, you know?
Right? The dichotomy of what we think we want, then we get
I mean, I hear about that from women all the time. It's like, you know, and the other thing about women that's so funny is women try to domesticate wild men like me. always trying to domesticate us, right? And the thing is that what happens is that when you try too hard to domesticate a wild man, if you succeed in it, you'll realize literally within 24 hours that you like seriously fucked up and like you don't have the same feeling. Because you got to think the wildness is what you liked about the dude. He's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Women can't. It's the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Women just can't see that. It's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. If you like a house because it's fucking blue, and you're like, oh damn, first thing I'm gonna do is paint this goddamn thing gray. It's gonna be, I can't wait, and blah blah blah. No, you love the house because it was blue, and it had, you know, a wood kitchen or whatever, and then you go in and you repaint the house, and then you rip the kitchen out and you put in marble, and then you're like, I don't know, it's all right, you know. And then you don't know why. Well, it's really fucking simple. Why? You liked the house the way it was, and you wouldn't changed it. Mm-hmm. So the thing is that it's also a matter of, you know, the domesticating or breaking of a wild horse makes sense to them because they're looking for security, right? They see passion in it, and they see love in it. They see all these different things, but they don't see security. They don't see, and then because they don't see security, they don't see like any length of time that this thing can survive, because security is what allows the relationship to survive into the future, right? So they think that the solution to that problem is to domesticate the wild horse, but they realize, you know, and the worst thing is then they spend like 4, 5, 6 years trying to domesticate the guy. They finally pull it off, and then the next day they're like, "Fuck it, I want to go somewhere else."
So, I mean, that sounds like women really going into their masculine and being the hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I think too many women try to make men too much like women. Like, come, let's talk about our feelings the same way that we do with our girlfriends, and you know, all of that, and expect a man to react in all the same ways that our besties do, but you know, really we should just be letting the men be the men.
Well, the reason why that's the way it is, I love talking about that shit. I could talk about that shit all day long. That's why I'm here, right? Literally on this call right now. So the problem is that women are rewarded. It's the opposite of sex. Take sex and flip it around. Women are chastised for having sex. Men are rewarded for having sex, right? So it's the same thing with emotions, right? Emotions and feelings. Women are
rewarded
for having these conversations.
Yeah.
Men are, I want to use a really strong word. I want to use the F word, FAGGO, you know, that's because that's literally like, I say gay, and it's like, it's kind of like a softball, because it's not really what it is. It's the F word. It's the big, fat, grimy, spoken like a fucking German F word.
Yeah.
That's what it is,
Get
right?
called the P word.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's one of those things where you're basically asking the man to do something that's going to hurt him, essentially. That's basically what you're running up against. And I think women just don't understand that. So,
yeah.
you know, it's men are not supposed to contact feelings, emotions, which are essentially translated into weaknesses in the male mind, right? So, the problem is not necessarily what you're asking. The problem is it gets lost in translation because it's no different than a guy saying, "Hey, let's fuck. Hey, let's fuck. Hey, let's fuck," and you're like, you know, it's not. There's more to think about on the female mind, whereas for a dude, it's just let's fuck. It's the same thing on the opposite end. It's, hey, let's talk about our feelings. Hey, let's talk about our feelings. And the guy is, it's basically like if you were to translate that to your minds and say, hey, let's fuck in the bathroom, that's basically, it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah. Well, both situations, it's like you're going to hurt me. And I guess it means something if you knowingly kind of hurt yourself and go against what your instincts are telling you, like, oh, I'm gonna be a guy, I'm gonna be like a pussy if I talk about my feelings. A girl, I'm gonna be a slut if I sleep with him. So if
Yeah,
you
exactly.
agree to hurt yourself, that means something.
So yeah, so really, it's actually very simple. The whole conversation with Zampirian, I'm a member of the Amirati. I'm actually a master member of the Amirati, which is like a upper level membership, right? That's this ring here that I have on, right? So
Okay.
one of the things he teaches that's really important is, for example, like sexually for women, right? So like the whole point is to understand that a woman's view of what's going to occur is completely different than a man's view. And then what he teaches and what I agree with is that most men get a kiss and then they run off to their friends and say that they fucked all night, right? So what they do is they embellish on that end because they don't realize this. What they're doing is they're essentially throwing the woman under the bus in order to gain clout for themselves, essentially. If you want to boil it into its most basic simplicity, right?
Yeah.
So what I do and what we do on the Amirati and what Zan teaches is that you actually embellish the other way. So if she brings her friend and fucks your brains out in a hotel room for 4 days with her friend, and it's this like drunken fucking threesome orgy, you say, yeah, we hung out, we had some coffee on Friday, it was really fun, she's a really sweet girl. And you never tell a soul. You literally never fucking tell a soul for as long as you live, and you take everything that happens with that woman to your fucking grave forever.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to talking about your feelings with men. Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite as extreme, but it could possibly be, depending on the guy. And you make it to where, you let him talk about his feelings behind closed doors. You make sure nobody ever finds out.
Right.
And if anybody asks, he put you in your place by yelling at you and or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like whatever it is that kind of brings him into his masculine, but what really happened behind closed doors is something completely fucking different, where he's crying and telling you about when he was molested at 6 years old, which he's never, ever, ever told anyone his entire life. And the idea of telling someone that is basically in his own mind, like almost like dying. It's so crazy and so awful to even talk about it, right? Yeah. So it's the same idea. And then when the guy does tell you that he was molested at 6 years old and he does cry, he does do all these things. Now, at that point, he's also scared too, because he's thinking like, I'm supposed to be the big tough man. Here I am being a little bitch. She's not going to like me anymore. Mm-hmm. So you also have that too. You also have, he's trying not to do that because he likes you and he doesn't want you to think of him in that way or do those things or whatever. So it's all about making it a safe space, which is a terrible term to use. Don't ever use that term. It's just, hey, look, I'm not going to tell anybody, but, I really want to talk about this. You make it safe. You're not going to yell at them. You make it safe. You're not going to freak out. You make it safe. You're not going to leave. Yeah. You make it safe. You're not going to tell anybody, tell people. So women do the same thing. They'll run off to the phone and get on the phone with all their girlfriends in 5 seconds and tell them everything. But the thing is that the way I look at it, my own personal opinion, is that guys can't talk and shouldn't talk, and women should be allowed to say whatever the fuck they want. Because if a woman goes out and says, yeah, I fucked this dude and it was amazing and we had like the greatest weekend fucking throuple experience and we were just drunk the whole time fucking on everything, we destroyed the whole hotel room, that puts the guy on the pedestal in a way, and it's like so it's sort of like you could say whatever you want, That's the way I do it. It's like you could say anything you want. You say anything you want to anyone, anywhere, and it's okay. Whereas me, I'm never going to tell a soul till the day I die. Or maybe like a priest or a therapist at the absolute limit, because you have to at least open the door for that, because that's involving their own private, But beyond that, there wouldn't be anything like that,
Yeah. Brandon, have you heard of the Anastasia Ringing Cedars of Russia books?
I think I have.
Okay,
Vaguely.
I'm gonna send you some clips from it. There's
Okay.
there's quite a few readings of them on YouTube, so I'll send you some of that. But the first book, the beginning of the first book, and the beginning of the sixth book. Yeah, I would like to hear your opinion on those after you listen to them.
Is it along the same lines, or is it opposing what I'm saying?
It's just next level. It's like talking about, instead of just carnal desire, sexual carnal desire, like a next level, like they call it co-creating. And they're like, it's just not even comparable to what the world calls sex.
I mean, I act like an animal all the time, but the thing is that the truth is that that's what I don't have sex with someone unless I love them, basically. I mean, but the thing is that what that is and what that means is so vague in everyone's opinion and heart and mind. So the thing is that I act like this, but it's not really. And the reason why women like it and they find it kind of fun and funny is because they know that it's not really what it is, but he's just having fun and being kind of goofy or silly or whatever. Whereas guys may not pick up on that really so well, right? But all the women pick up on it. It's just like Zan says in The Alabaster Girl. He says the best part about telling a lie is getting caught.
As far as picking up women?
As far as interacting with women in general, I mean, women already pick up on everything. So the idea that you can lie to a woman is the most hysterical, batshit, fucking crazy thing ever. The only way you can lie to a woman is by lying to a woman. She picks up on it. You ceaselessly mitigate, downgrade, and break down the defenses of a woman who has realized you lying over a prolonged period of time. The woman finally deludes herself into believing that the guy is correct. That's the only way you can truly lie to a woman.
Yes, is when a woman is delusional and hears only what she wants to hear.
Or she's pounded into submission and allows it to happen. Yeah. Like gaslighting, emotional goofiness. Yeah. And the woman kind of knows, and she's like, I don't know. And then he pounds her and 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 pounds her. And then eventually she accepts the delusion.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I know your game. You throw it out there and you're like, oh, if any fish bites, then then you're you back.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's a lot of times where I just throw it out there all the time because I can and because it's hilarious and because it's fun, honestly. If there's bites, it doesn't mean anything. It may mean something, it may not, but it's not necessarily. I do it with everyone all the time, all day. I used to do it with 70
I thought it was
women.
Special.
No, I used to do it with 70-year-old women. I used to do it with 70-year-old women at the dental offices that I ran. I used to rizz them up all the time, and they could be my grandma. And I'll tell you right now, I'm sure a lot of them wanted to bang me, and that's not what I was going to do, but that's just, that's what it is,
Yeah.
Well, because you think to yourself, most men would bang anybody at any point in time, but if you think about it, that's kind of like a very destitute place to be. It's like you're so broke you'll take any penny. So the thing is that there's actually a definition of the word promiscuous I found once that really blew my mind. It's taking whatever comes along, right? And so many men are promiscuous because they'll take whatever comes along. But just because a man is sexual doesn't necessarily mean that he takes whatever comes along.
Yeah, that's true. Happy to hear you're pickier than that. But going back to what you were saying about like wearing a suit.
She's shocked, Anna. She's shocked. She's like amazed. She's like, oh my God, I thought you'd fuck a horse for sure if it had lipstick on. I would not fuck a pig or a horse with lipstick, I assure you. That's honor, okay?
But going back to what you were saying about like wearing a suit in this day and age, like it stands out in this world of sweatpants and stuff like that, you know. Being playful and fun like that, and like what we do under the pier, actually playing and, you know, connecting with our inner child in public, it stands out so much in this world of seriousness.
Yeah, and that's why I love the legal conversation so much, because when you start understanding the legal stuff, it's like you're carrying the biggest stick in town.
Yeah. Yes.
So you can afford to speak very softly.
Yes.
You don't see anyone fucking with me, do you? You don't see anyone suing me? I'm over here like literally posting on the internet, please God, will someone fucking sue me? And no one will sue me. Literally. And I have lawsuits all over the place. Do you realize in most lawsuits, federal lawsuits, I'm literally in the lawsuit saying, yes, I got this money. It was supposedly a loan. It wasn't. I'm never going to pay you. Fuck you. Literally right in the fucking lawsuit. And they still won't counterclaim me. It's literally like an affidavit. Yes, I got this money. Fuck you. I'm never going to pay it. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Literally right in the documents. And they still won't fucking counterclaim me. And a counterclaim is free. I already paid to sue them. A counterclaim is free. They don't even need to pay the fucking filing. They don't need to serve me documents. Counterclaiming, suing someone back after they sue you is like, literally, it's like, here's the answer to the complaint. And then there's a new line and it says counter complaint. And then there's counter complaint information. No cost, no service of process, easiest fucking thing in the world. They still won't do it.
I know one state that does charge to counterclaim, but
well, that's why I said
Our
mostly
state.
federal cases. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm aware that some states all states are a little different. Some do, some don't. But on the federal level, I do believe there is no service of process cost. There's no filing cost. It's literally no cost.
Yeah, and most state constitutions have in it that you should be able to defend yourself free of charge. So
yeah, well, that just makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, unfortunately, in our home state, they didn't abide by that. They don't abide by that. So
really.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to file in like a motion to dismiss and you're not trying to counterclaim,
Yep.
they still make you pay?
Yep.
Well, at that point, you might as well counterclaim that shit.
Yeah.
Might as well. Might as well.
Yeah. Well, what are you doing for your birthday tomorrow?
My birthday. Getting a massage and going out with the boys.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Birthday massage is a must.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good times.
Where do you go in LA?
To get a massage?
Yeah.
I have someone come to me.
Yes.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Someone I met, a friend of mine who I met at Confluence when I was there speaking. So she was there, and I test women, just like women test men. So like I've spent a lot of my life understanding women, and there's certain things about the way women think and act that I found so fascinating. I was like, well, fuck, I'm going to start doing that, right? And one of the things I started doing was testing. I test women like crazy, right? And I met her, and she's like, "Hi, I'm a professional masseuse," and she's really cute and all this. And the first things out of my mouth were fantastic. I really could use a massage with a happy ending. And there was like 7 people around, right? It was like a whole group right around them, and everyone started fucking laughing or putting their hands over their mouth. And she was just like, "Yeah, totally." She's like, "Give me a call, blah, blah, blah." And she like totally just rode off of it. She just let it like ride right over her. And I was like, all right, this chick's cool. I can fuck with this girl.
She can accept your jokes.
Yeah. So, it's the whole testing thing. I think if more men understood it and then actually applied it, you would actually go through a whole lot less heartache. That's the whole point of it, right? So, yeah, it's brilliant, honestly. Men are just trying to fuck anything and just get in bed or get into a relationship with anything they can possibly touch or smell or fuck. So it's just kind of like a sad state. So the idea of filtering is like they'll look at you like you're a serial murderer. Literally. Like I don't ever bring that up to men because I know the reaction I'm going to get. I'm going to get, you're don't pay taxes. Oh, it's fine. Sue the government. Oh yeah, no problem. Testing women. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's a, you know what I mean? You really are crazy. You really are crazy, So I don't bring that up, right? But you say it to women, and they're like, "Fuck yeah, bro! The first thing you fucking do, man, you got to run them through the goddamn ringer." You know what I mean? So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing. Like body language, subcommunication. I have a whole chapter in the book about subcommunication. That's my favorite part of the feminine is the subcommunication. That's why I think women love artists so much, because artists typically have an ability to actually communicate on that level, or at least have some discourse on that level. Whether they're aware of it or not is a different story. But the thing is that they can, to some degree, whether they're aware or not, they have the ability to subcommunicate, and that just drives women fucking absolutely crazed animals, right? Because it's like they've been looking for this unicorn, and that's sort of like the fabled unicorn, right? So when I started learning about this whole subject, I got really fascinated, and then I started getting into body language, and then I started getting into subcommunication, and then I started getting into, and then eventually I realized the definition of the word creepiness is when words are mismatched with the intention. So the intention is I want to fuck you, but what comes out of your mouth is I love you. And it's creepy is the discourse, the disharmony. It's like taking 2 notes on a guitar and going, Ree! It's like, women literally hear 2 things. They hear the intent, I want to fuck this girl, say anything. And then they hear the words of, I love you, baby, let's, whatever, chocolates. I love you, baby, Yeah. And they hear a discourse, right? So when I started learning a lot about that really got me super fucking fascinated. And I went on like a whole like ultra deep dive on that one. So I think that's the coolest shit ever. Because in terms of sexual experiences, when both parties can communicate really, really well on subcommunication level, it's like tantric at that point. It's like absolutely crazy. So that's a cool area that I think if more men were aware of. I didn't tell anyone I was doing this shit. You can't as a guy, because then you're going to be the FAG word, right? So
yeah, I'm even more looking forward to hearing your thoughts after you listen to the Anastasia books.
Yeah,
or at least the I'll send you the little bits that I want to hear your perspective on.
Sounds good. Yeah,
like you said, that it's like gone into the tantric, where this guy was like, I don't even remember anything. Like the publishers were like trying to get him to like spill more beans about like everything that happened, and he's like, I literally, I don't remember. All I know is that the next morning I just had this feeling of elation that,
Well, it's because for women, this stuff is like the next level. It's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal, but it's not like the end of the world, right? For a dude, it's like we have to go up like 487 floors on an elevator. That's not the fastest elevator in the world. So it's literally like being in an elevator for like 25 minutes moving up. And you just hear the little like little music for 25 fucking minutes while this thing that's what it's like for a guy. So what does he do? He wakes up the next day and he's like, I don't even know where I was. It was awesome. You know what I mean? But for someone like me or other men who have been working on this for a long fucking time, this is totally, it's not that crazy. It's not the craziest. If you take someone and you try to raise them up 400 flights of stairs in 3 seconds, they're not going to be able to handle it very well.
Yeah. Their ears are popping.
Life does not change that rapidly. And the thing is that you'll never see that any more than the legal stuff. The legal stuff is a great example of that. Oh my God. You think someone's going to go into a courtroom and start beating up DOJ lawyers in 2 weeks? You got another thing coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all a process. It's all a gradient process, and everyone's different in terms of how rapidly they can understand things and apply things. So it's just, but the way I look at it is the journey is where the fun is. So if you were able to just download everything into your mind like the Matrix in 5 seconds, life would get really boring really fast.
Yeah.
So I think that the entire design of the human psyche was done on purpose by us to ensure that we couldn't understand something in 3 seconds.
Yeah, so that we can live longer. Otherwise, we would just be bored and want to die immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying about like men scared to test women, I feel like that's, like the pier, they're saying like, oh, there's been rules here that you can't hang hammocks on this brand new concrete pier, and nobody has questioned that. Like, we've seen one person hang a hammock and they're like, oh, like secretly, but yeah, there's not much pushback on it. So like if they're scared to test women, they're really scared to like test authority, especially to their face.
Yeah, it's all very stupid because I always say that the first thing whenever you're told that, because we get told that by the county recorders, we get told that by everybody. Oh, there's this law on this. Okay, good. Show it to me.
Yep.
Show it to me right now.
Yep.
Oh, well, I want to read it. I'm curious as what you're saying. I have heard out of your mouth, you just told me that there's a law on this, or a statute, or a code. Is that correct? Oh, well, did you tell me that or not? Yes, I did. Excellent. I want to read it, and I'd like to read it right now. So if you could show it to me, or at least tell me if you don't have it on you, or you're not sure where to find it. I know the codes can be sometimes hard to find. Tell me the code number, and I'll take down your information, and then I'll go read it as fast as I can. I'll read it right now. Oh, well, 85% of the time, it's that easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then from there, if they do show you a code, then you have to go deeper into the definitions of that code. So every code has a definition section. So let's say 85%, let's say 90% can be handled through just asking for the code. And then once you get the code, if you get the code, then there's always a definition sections associated with the code that has all these goofy, fucked up definitions for all the shit they're trying to talk about that totally fuck up their whole argument. That's like another 9%. So you're already at 99% right there. And then the 1% is where you have to do some work.
Yeah, but most people are scared to even get to that just easy 90%.
Yeah.
Anna, what's your, what did you call it? Like where you double down on asking them when you're like, oh, so there is no code? When that cop came up to us and when we were like, he's like, oh, well, there's some ordinance or whatever, and you're like, okay, where's the ordinance or whatever?
Yeah, we did ask. That did happen to us, and first he said, oh, well, I don't know, I can't show it to you, and then he kind of admitted that there was no code and that we had permission. So I don't know what you're referring to, but I think we just verified and we're like, okay, so we can keep doing this. Oh yeah, I guess it's okay if you just clean up after yourself every time. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But most people they accept it as soon as
Yeah,
they say
most people
something
do.
stupid.
Yeah, as soon as someone of authority says there's a rule, they don't actually question it.
Yeah.
Sad how well public school has worked in like keeping us in line.
Yeah, like I said on the last show, the first question is, where's the code? Second question is, what are the definitions of the words in that code? And then from there, if everything checks out, now you have to actually start moving into an actual argument. That's almost like pre-trial motion. That's almost like, and then from there, now it's okay. So there's a peer. So there's an item or object or possession or res or some sort of possession that's in question. That possession is the peer. So now we need to figure out the titling situation and the title transferring situation of that item. So who has title over that item? If the person who has title over that item is a legal fiction, such as city of insert the blank, now you got to figure out what's the charter information as regards to the municipality, like because if you look at the original charter of a municipality, it'll actually state in the charter what gave the ability for that municipality to have a charter. And a lot of times it'll say something like the Constitution of the United States plus blank. So now what you're going to do is you're saying this municipality has this title, and then you get the original incorporated articles of incorporation on the city. The city says that its entire municipality is based off of the Constitution. The Constitution says this, this, and this, and now you challenge to actually shut down the entire charter, which would then in turn release the title. Because if the owner of the title of the peer it disappears, then now it's an open title. Now what you do is you can take adverse possession over the peer. You can actually claim the peer as your own asset.
And then what you use. That is the stick.
Yeah. So then at that point, you would put a newspaper article in the newspaper, and you would say, now that's going to get a lot of press. You're going to have that. Because if anyone claims the peer at that point, then now you have a justiciable controversy. Now you have litigation, right? So then from that point, you have, that'd be perfect for you. You get 500 people all pissed off about the fact that you guys are stealing the peer. And then at that point, you would put into the court case, hey, no problem. We were just doing this as a stunt, essentially. Let's actually make this publicly owned. Everyone in the whole country, essentially, or everyone in the world, or you can put it in a trust, or you can, and then at that point, everyone would calm down, and then boom, now it sounds like a lot of work, but you got to think it's the same process for anything in life. So if you were to do it once, you're gonna be a lot more empowered and a lot more happy and a lot more able in your life, because it's the same fucking process for anything. It's the same fucking process for a ticket. It's the same fucking process for criminal charge. It's the same overall process for almost anything. So the problem is no one knows any of this, and no one knows how to handle their own legal endeavors. So it becomes confusing and shaky and fearful, right?
Yeah. Well, we've been taught just hire a lawyer.
Lawyers don't know anything about any of this.
Yeah, but that's, what everyone, unless you, and that's why some people just go to law school, but yeah, even they wouldn't. But yeah, to me,
lawyers are carefully trained to not understand any of this information.
But I'm just hearing, like, I'm visualizing that, what the Teddy Roosevelt saying that you said, speak softly with a big stick. Like, speaking softly and being diplomatic can get you 99% of the
Speak
way.
softly and carry a big dick, I think is exactly what I said.
Well, yeah, but speaking softly will get you 99% of the way there. And then how many situations do you have to whip out that big dick?
Precisely. Precisely. Now I'm excited. Now you got me excited. Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100%. I think it's 100% true. And the thing is that women don't want to whip out that big dick, you know? It scares everybody off, you know?
Yes, and like you said, most of us haven't been taught that. Even people who went to law school have not really always been taught how to whip out the big dick in situations like this, you know?
Yeah. 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 The entire articles of incorporation of pretty much everything is all based off of earlier laws that are actually more original, right? So, and they all have the Constitution in there. Every oath of office has the word Constitution in it, and every fucking municipality articles of incorporation has the word Constitution in it. So, when you start getting people's oath of office and you start getting those original articles of incorporation, and then you start banging them with constitutional causes of action, because now you aren't just trying to win a lawsuit. You're trying to take a real sharp knife and put it right up against their throat, because if they don't behave, they lose their whole municipal charter.
We're trying.
Let's say it's Memphis.
Yes,
Let's say it's
Memphis.
it's not Memphis. Let's say it's Memphis, Tennessee, right?
Yes.
So city of Memphis is claiming that they own this thing, and then, you know, you look it up, and then, you know, sure enough, there is a title. Okay, good. So that's the first thing. Before you go after their articles of incorporation, you would check and see, okay, they're claiming this thing. Is there a title? How in the fuck did they get a title of this thing? But okay, whatever. They built it, so, or whatever, and then find out who built it, who funded it, you know, a little research there. And then now you're going to pull the original articles of incorporation on city of Memphis, and it's going to say something about the Constitution, and then that's when you bang them for the it'll say that the entire basis of their entire articles of incorporation is the Constitution. So what that means is that their charter rests upon the Constitution, and if they violate the Constitution, then their charter ceases to exist, right? So what you're doing is you don't have to go to the city for any approval or anything. You don't have to argue with anyone at that point. You're not arguing with anyone. You're saying, okay, so you're saying you have title over this thing. Yes, we do. Good. Where's the title? Here's the title. Good. Or you go to the county recorder. They're going to have the title for you. Then now you verify the title, and then now you're also going to get the original articles of incorporation. You can get that from the city. So you don't show up at the city meeting and say, oh, I want to have a conversation about this and that. You say, yes, hello. I am here to serve a public information notice. It's basically the state version of a FOIA request. And on that state version of a FOIA request, it's going to have a request for the charter for City of Memphis, and it's going to have the articles of incorporation for City of Memphis, and then it's also going to have titling information, any titling information as regards to how the person called City of Memphis got title to said pier. Now, let's say, for example, you find a title for said pier, and it's got meets and bounds on it, and the meets and bounds of the title only inhabit part of the pier. So now what that means is that now you can set up over here on the back end of the pier and not the front end of the pier, and the title wouldn't matter anymore. So they can't use the title to push any. There's all sorts of ways around this. You'd be surprised how. Yeah. So you're not asking them for anything except the information, and they have to give it to you by law. If they don't give you the information, you just sue them, because it literally says right in the goddamn thing that if they don't perform, you sue them for not giving you the information. So it's very, very. So to me, it's just a process. It's like a steamroller. You're just going to steamroller them, and the whole point of the steamroller is you can choose. If you're steamrollering someone, and like 20% of the way in, they're like, all right, whatever you want, and they're willing to write up a document that says you can use the pier for everybody. Now it's your choice whether you're going to stop the steamroller, or if you're going to say, keep it going, boys, this is hilarious. Keep going. You know what I mean? So that's what people don't understand about litigation. In litigation, settlement agreements or settlement talks are private, meaning like you and I speak off the record. We're like over here. Like if you're in a courtroom and there's a settlement discussion, you're in like a private room and there's like another private room, and there's like a mediator, and they'll run between the two rooms or whatever. Like the settlement is a completely private situation. Settlements are not done in the actual public arena, right? So it's sort of like the way litigation is that you get in the courtroom, you get in the arena, the octagon, and you're just punching each other. There's not any talking happening. I mean, there is, but you're just beating the fuck out of each other, right? And then there's like a ding, there's a bell, right? And then you guys get out of the arena. Now, over here, outside of the arena, you guys are talking. You're like, hey, man, I don't know if I can go another round. Let's just, I'll give you 10 grand and let's just call the fight. And then the other person goes, you know what? That sounds good. They shake hands, and now we have a settlement. And a lot of times, the way that it goes into the court case isn't, hey, we're fucked up after round 2. We agreed that he's going to pay him $10,000. It's just, we entered into a settlement. This case is hereby closed, or motion to dismiss, because there was a settlement agreement that occurred privately, and then both parties signed that document. And that's the public versus private conversation, right? So public is like hearings, dockets, discovery, forcing people to do things. It's like that's the forceful end. It's at the masculine end, and then you have the settlement agreements and meet and confers and various things that happen privately. People had this idea in their mind that they're like, oh, if there's a settlement agreement, all that information goes into the docket. No. It's just, hey, we reached a settlement on March 13th that hereby eliminates all justiciable controversy in this case. This is hereby a motion to close this case due to full settlement agreement being made. And then they sign, you sign. And if there's any question, maybe there's a little micro hearing just to make sure. Like, hey, I got this motion, Mr. Williams, what's the deal with this? Your Honor, we privately worked out a settlement agreement. I'm very happy with the terms, and I do agree with the motion to dismiss that the defense has placed on the record. Or vice versa. The plaintiff would file a motion to dismiss, and then the defense would say, yes, Your Honor, we came to a settlement, and we're very happy with the terms of the settlement. We agree with the plaintiff's motion to dismiss the case for reason of settlement, and then at that point the judge would say, "Okay, good, granted." Boom, and he'd hit the gavel, and then that's it. And he doesn't even know what the fuck happened. Mm-hmm. The courts don't know what happened.
Okay.
The only time you have a forced situation that's public is when it goes all the way to trial, and then the jury gives a final determination. That becomes public, and both parties are bound to the jury decision.
Okay. So
or a bench, or a bench. What do you call it? A bench
judgment.
A bench judgment, a bench case, or bench adjudication. Yeah. That's where the judge by himself says, I'm deciding on this, but both parties have to be okay with the fact that the judge is going to be deciding on it. Yeah. So if both parties are okay with the judge deciding on it, the judge decides, now that's going to be public because the judge decided, you see?
Yeah.
But if the two parties can work it out privately, you could be in pre-trial for 6 years or 2 years or 1 year. If at any point during that year, there's a settlement privately, that's it. You can just knock it off.
All right.
So what you're doing is you're squeezing them until you get what you want. The problem is most people squeeze until they get just a teeny little thing that they wanted, and they allow the other party to fuck with them and be complete pieces of shit for months on end. And then finally they give me a piece of paper and says, oh, you can use the pier. That's what pisses me off. Mm-hmm. No, motherfucker, you've been wasting my time and violating my fucking constitutional rights for 6 fucking months. You are going to pay. I want your fucking badge. I want your fucking bond. You're losing your job. It's not about revenge. It's about the fact that this motherfucker, he's doing it to you, half-naked hotties on the fucking beach. You gotta be fucking kidding me. He's doing it to you. He's doing it to other people too. So, that's where I feel like the masculine energy has to rise at that point. Because the thing is, it's not just about getting what you want. It becomes more than that. It's bigger than you. This is bigger than you.
Exactly. Exactly.
This cocksucking gay, he denies it, probably gay, piece of shit, is doing this to other people too. It's not just you. Yep. Unless he has some massive sexual inadequacy and he's just doing it out of like some weird convoluted, he's in the closet and he's trying not to be, he's got weird misogynistic thoughts about women, and there's some kind of weird psychosis that the guy's going through. Like maybe in that case, he's not doing it to a whole lot of other people. It's just the hotties that are half naked on the fucking beach dancing around.
Hey, we had long pants and long
Yeah,
shoes.
we have not been half naked.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I saw you guys were like in these tight elf-looking thing with the
Yes,
fucking.
they're
I mean,
long sleeves
not
and
half
long
naked,
pants.
but like there's definitely like you can
It's
see
like this
every
much
curve.
skin showing in the middle.
You can see every detail of every curve of every muscle, and you guys are like you have excellent muscle definition. So like in my male mind, it's like, oh God, yeah,
imagining us
she's
naked.
basically half naked. You know what I mean? Like, let me have this, damn it. Don't take this from me. I'll end this call, okay?
All right.
Welcome back, Anna.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know, you missed me. I've been gone so long.
I was crying. I almost was in tears, but I didn't want to show my emotional side.
Right. Well, I promise I won't tell.
I love it.
Yeah, it feels like we might be soon living in the town of Footloose. So I guess we could have used that as we could have said that.
You guys are moving?
Town name. Have you
Wait,
ever
what
seen
year?
the movie Footloose?
No.
I had never seen it either, but Anna has used
I've
it.
been using that reference since this whole thing started. In the movie, the town, it's this small town, and it's kind of half run by the pastor of the church, and they have banned dancing, they've banned music, and this new kid moves to town and of course stirs things up in his dancing ways. So that's what it feels like we're doing.
What a bastard, you know what I mean?
I know, right?
And so we had to watch that movie because I had never seen it and
Yeah.
nailed it. Yes,
Yeah.
that is.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Two dancing girls, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have also heard, I forget who we just heard this from recently, but they have actually apparently gone up to people on the beach because it's called the family beach. And they've gone up to women who apparently their swimsuits aren't covering enough, even though they're fully covered. Like, you know, the things that should be covered are covered. But they will go up to those women and then tell them that this is the family beach, so they have to cover up.
See, like in my mind, I would just, the definition of the word family would be my titties at that point. You know what I mean? That's how I would do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
these
So
are
it's a
my
family
families.
beach.
I mean,
It's a
what would
family
they-
beach.
What would they do if a woman's
It's
out
titty
there
beach.
breastfeeding her child on the family beach? Is that okay then? That's
Yeah.
more uncovered than, you know.
Well, you also got to think too, like, then on the backside of this, someone's, you know, licking their lips possibly too, because they're thinking, like, if we write tickets,
Yep.
Yeah.
now we're making
Exactly.
money,
Yep.
Yep.
right? So then it goes kind of in that whole direction too, right? So it's the real it's the issue of all of this is way bigger than anyone thinks it is. The issue is if you want to go like up the elevator to levels that no one's ever even seen the floors of the building, didn't even know they were there. You're going to start talking about things like, well, how would the SEC feel about you walking around forcing people to sign unconditional promises to pay? You're essentially manufacturing negotiable instruments on the beach. Do you have an SEC license to do so?
That's a whole new can of worms. To
So now we start
That's
getting
another
into what right do you have to produce an unconditional promise to pay? And the word payment means performance. So if it's to promise to be in a court or promise to pay a fine, it would still be under the classification of pay or payment. So it'd still be a negotiable instrument, and they would still need some sort of, they're literally manufacturing securities on a beachfront. So you have to think to yourself, now you're going to get the SEC involved, you're going to sue them with the SEC just for that alone. That's not even constitutional at that point, that's commercial. So there's commercial angles, there's constitutional angles, there's state angles, there's Another angle, one of my favorite angles is nationality angle. So the municipality is incorporated. How does someone become part of the laws or codes or ordinances of that municipality? And then they say, oh, well, anyone who's in the town. No. Because the thing is that Title 18 and even the entire 14th Amendment is all about there is no forced contracts. There is no involuntary servitude. There is no any of these things. So you can also say peonage is debt slavery. I think it's 30 years in prison for peonage. So now you slap that on there too. Now you say, well, you're walking around forcing me to accept this negotiable instrument, unconditional promise to pay. First off, where's your SEC license? And second off, why are you attempting to put me into a peonage situation, which is 30 years in prison? Do you see? So the thing is that, there's so many different angles to hit this. And I think I like to talk about all the different angles because people get confused. They're like, oh, it's so confusing. It's not confusing. It's empowering. There's not one way to skin this cat. There's a million ways to skin this cat. And when you start to realize it's just so simple, it's so easy because there's so many ways to address the situation. It's the opposite of overwhelming. It's like underwhelming to the most amazing degree ever because it's like, I've just been offered a presentment, which is the legal term. You've just offered me a presentment. You as the maker or issuer has offered me a presentment. So what does that mean? And it opens up this whole, oh, wow. You're sitting there having a cigarette with a beer, watching the hotties over and dancing under the pier in their elf outfits, and you're just like, well, shit, how do I want to handle it? Do I want to go commercial route? Do I want to go nationality route? Do I want to go after the original charter? Do I want to shut down the whole fucking city? Do I want to own this pier through adverse possession? The problem is if I own the pier and I have to take care of it, I don't really want to take care of it. I have to paint it and, oh, geez, is there a lifeguard on duty? Oh, I don't want to have to pay him. Well, I could just go the commercial route. The commercial route would involve the SEC and the fact that it's a negotiable instrument. Or I can go the constitutional route. That's always an interesting conversation. People usually get pretty riled up about that. How do I want to handle this? You see?
Well, I like your route of educating others and waking them up. So it's not always you having to bring out the big stick and all of those other legal routes. Like the more of us that stand together, we take down the one shark that thinks that they have jaws, but it's like the big school of fish can easily take them down.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, from a feminine perspective, it's actually really simple because, it's just some idiot who's trying to deal with his inadequacies with women, or it comes down to one idiot who doesn't want the city to get sued, or it comes down to one idiot who's just really bored at their job. There's just nothing ever happening, and this is kind of exciting, and they just kind of want to, or it could even be boiled down to the fact that he likes you guys. I mean, and sometimes, especially guys, can just get super weird, and it just gets really confusing and convoluted in their own mind, and they're at home jerking it to photos of you guys. But then I'm serious. And you guys know I'm right. You guys know I'm telling the truth here. It's amazing. It's amazing what can happen, when it comes to sex and the male to female. It's amazing the levels of chaos and confusion and wildness that can come out of that area. I would say you could boil most insanities down if you were to boil it down to some sort of sexual, and not like how psychiatry talks about it, where everything is sex all the time. Every single thing has to be translated into sex. That's ridiculous. Like the gun was the phallus, and the shooting of the gun was the ejaculation. Like that, literally. Look inside court cases, and they do this kind of stupid shit. It's insane. It's fucking retarded, right? I'm not talking about that, but I am saying that they're coming from somebody who did struggle most of his entire life from serious sexual inadequacy and difficulties. It is a difficult area that more so men have more of an issue with than women typically. And I think a lot of that just comes down to economics, meaning, you know, you I would say that you guys could send out a text and have pizza and dick in 15 minutes, right? I always laugh because it's true, but it's fucking hilarious when you say it like that, right? It's just hilarious. It's like easier than Uber Eats. You know what I mean? You know, or cheaper. It's like, well, I don't have to go in and click all these things and then, you know, watch some guy drive his car across town on a map. You know, he's slow. Why are you there? Why are you stopped in that intersection? You know, no one's even these guys are going to be blowing red lights trying to get over to you. You know what I mean? So it's the same. You know, whereas guys, you know, a lot of women are always kind of depressed and sad when they hear that. And you've probably seen some memes on this as well. Guys will go through their whole life and only be complimented a few times, and they'll literally get a single compliment and they'll think about it for a decade.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
We had that conversation at an Aerial Silks retreat once, and it resulted in lots of compliments, very genuine, but yeah, it was a noted thing in my brain.
Yeah, so pretty women get complimented all the time, constantly, and it becomes annoying because it's like air. It's just like value. I go into this in my book. Value is determined by scarcity. So if something is so everywhere, like water out of a faucet, it's like no one's freaking out trying to get water out of a faucet. You know what I mean? Because it's everywhere in this country, right? Go to India and start talking about water coming out of a faucet, and everyone's going to lose their fucking shit about how excited they are, right? Or whatever, or go to areas of Africa, or these things that you see on these social media posts and stuff like that. You know, running water. These guys walk 4 hours one direction to get water, and then they walk with a 25-pound barrel of water 4 miles back to their, and that's all they do every day in their village. That's their job, is to walk 4 miles, get water, and walk 4 miles back. So the idea that we can go to a water faucet in our apartments and turn this little knob and water comes out of it is the most mind-blowing thing in the world to these people, right? So there's nothing, the problem is that there's all this right and wrong. It's like, you're wrong for being so fucking wanting women to compliment you, and you're wrong because you get compliments and you're not being kind, and you're a fucking stuck up bitch because you don't accept the compliments, or whatever it is, right? And then you have men who think that if they give compliments now, women are supposed to reverently open their legs, you know, and worship the phallic fucking God that has graced them with their presence, you know. So you have all these confusions, but it really just boils down to economics. Men struggle to access something they think they need. So it's like food or water. It's the same reaction. And then women typically don't have that issue at all. And the problem is that when you start to have, it's like somebody who's starving because they don't have any food, and you start asking them a bunch of questions about like politics and like, you know, local politics. Like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I'm starving. Fuck your politics. Fuck your peers. Fuck your elf women that dancing on, you know, pink. What? I don't care, bro. Fuck you. I will burn the fucking pier down. I am starving. Fuck your pier. You see? So it's like a totally different conversation. So that's kind of like where men are at, right? It's sort of like most men are, and women get really frustrated because they're trying to like talk to them, and they can't think, they can't talk, they can't. It's just fuck. How do I fuck? How do I fuck? How do I pants off? How do the pants come off? How does vagina get into my mouth? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, how does this? You know what I mean? And it's just like, so women feel objectified because what are you to them? You're just a tool to dig them out of their nightmare because you happen to have flesh, and that flesh happens to have a hole called a vagina, right? So literally that upsets women because they're like, fuck you. It's disgusting. And it's also not very masculine either. That's the other part about it that's really sad too. So you wake up in this world where men are more attractive if they have women, and they don't have that kind of attitude. But in order to have that kind of attitude, you have to have women So guys who have more women are more attractive to women because they don't have the destitute, weird, objectifying, whatever. And then those men essentially are sort of like wealthy men, and they can afford to have a conversation and talk to women and befriend women and not have to feel like they, vagina and mouth, how do I get it in my mouth, mouth. They don't have this kind of thing happening, right?
Oh, they have a little more confidence.
And they have confidence. Well, they have stability. They're like women think of men as like a tree trunk. They literally feel like a fucking tree trunk. They feel like a trunk. A woman can literally grab onto the motherfucker, grab onto his love handles and fuck him because he's not going to move. You know what I mean? It's literally almost sexual in itself because it's sort of like he is not just so destitute that he'll just drift off in 3 seconds. You know what I mean? So what it is that then now you have this whole new thing where women and men are arguing about money, and women like money and they don't like money and all this. I actually think that the idea of women liking or not liking money translates directly to sexual financials, meaning it's actually a woman enjoying the fact that a wealthy man is not necessarily just financially wealthy, he's sexually wealthy. He doesn't have that in my mouth, mouth.
Yeah,
How do I get it in my mouth? He doesn't have that. Like, he doesn't even fucking see you. Mouth. Like that. That's, it's like, that's what women, it's a crazy situation though, because the only way out of that for most men, they think, is to have sex. But the thing is, the worse of that they display, the less sexually attractive they become. So it becomes this spiral of death. And then I think that does relate to a lot of things. You don't see women out there doing school shootings. You don't see women out there doing a lot of the crazy shit that you see in this world. I think the top 10% worst crimes in existence are just straight up men. Like, it's just, occasionally a woman will murder someone and people don't think too much about it, but it's very rare that you see this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and usually the woman, it's out of passion, not frustration.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of the same sometimes, but it's usually directed at, one person that scorned them.
Yeah, and then you think to yourself, prostitution's illegal, so now a guy wants to go get a prostitute. Do you guys know the number one service that's the most highly recommended service from a prostitute? It sounds like a crazy question to ask, but it's really not all that terribly secret. Do you know the number one most requested prostitution-related service?
Cuddling?
The girlfriend experience.
Oh.
So do men really just want to fuck? Do they? The thing is that they may act like it. You might think so, but the statistics prove otherwise. The problem is that, again, for a man to talk about his feelings would make him a F word. So the thing is, he's not going to tell you that. He's going to say, oh, I just wanted to fuck her in the ass. But the thing is that no, secretly what he's paying for is the girlfriend experience. But he doesn't want anybody to find out about that.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. We live in an illusion, man, I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. We live in an illusion. It's all bullshit. What you see and what you hear is not what's going on most of the time in this world.
Yeah. Well, what did you call it? The ancillary communication or whatever that women are better at than men?
Subcommunication.
Subcommunication. Yeah. Yeah.
What women are upset about is the unconscious, unspoken communication of sexual destitution that equals them being essentially nothing more than an object to be used like a life raft by somebody who is drowning.
Yeah. And then you smother the person,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not a partnership.
It's a fascinating conversation. And that was me for a long time, man. Long time.
So what, besides all the research and stuff that you did, because you can read all the books, you can go to seminars and stuff like that, but what actions did you take to actually get past and build that confidence?
I need a drink for this one. Hold on one second. Let me get a drink. You guys are going to love this. This is where the story gets exciting. So when I was living in New York City, I decided that the best way to handle the situation was just to literally hit on everything that walked all day long, every day, and just as much as humanly possible. So I would stop these girls on the street, sometimes groups of girls, in Times Square, and I would take their hand and I'd be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Where are you from? It's not. I'd kiss their hand and do all this crazy stuff. And then I'd spin them around, tell them how beautiful they were. And I would do this to 20 to 80 women a day.
Whoa.
For 2.5 years, in the snow, in the ice, in the rain, in the sun, didn't matter.
Wow.
And it wasn't really all that effective, but it also wasn't the worst thing I could have done. Meaning, that much effort over that long, you would think I'd be like fucking Casanova, which I definitely wasn't by the end of it. But that's just the only thing that made sense to me at that time. It was just like my male mind, very young, by the way, in my early 20s. So male mind, working at 10% capacity, which is 96% sex and 3% pizza and 1% sleeping. That's the male mind at 90% sex, 6% beer, 3% pizza, 1% sleeping. Would be the male mind at circa 22 years old. You know what I mean? But that was like that, boom, bang, that Flintstone male mentality of like bang, bang, knock the door down with my fist. That's how you knock a door down. That was my solution. And and it was hilarious because women would like me and they'd want to hang out with me and stuff, and I'd be so terrified because I had no money. Like no money, like can't even buy a coffee kind of a thing. And it's not like women need money, and I get it, and we can go on a whole conversation about that and all that. But it's embarrassing when you can't even go in and get a tea for yourself and a tea for a woman, like a $2 tea. Like that's pretty sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about lavish $400 dinners. It's just I can't even afford bus fare. I mean, literally at that time. So it was really, really embarrassing. And I would just basically just derail it on purpose because I was so terrified of her finding out that I couldn't even afford an 80-cent coffee for her off of a fucking hot dog stand. So it'd be like all this upfront gusto. And then as soon as there was a reciprocation, it was sort of like, oh my God, what do I do? And then I would just kind of blow my own tires out, basically. That's basically what I did. And then I ended up meeting this girl who was a dentist. And I mean, I met a million girls, obviously, but one of them was a dentist, and we kind of hit it off. And then we started dating, and then I started helping her with her business. That's how I got into dentistry.
Ah, okay.
And then I was studying a bunch of books, and then I was working with her, and then we ended up building her dental office into this fucking monstrosity in no time flat. So I had no money, but I had that to offer, right? So it's like, what do I have to offer? I have administrative and business acumen, and it's like, well, what's your credentials? And it's like, I have a penis and I have 80 cents. That's my credentials. But the problem is she was running her own business, and she's very, very girly, and she didn't want to deal with, she told me a million times, she's like, I hate everything about dentistry, except I just want to do dentistry and sell dentistry and fix dentistry. That's it. And I said, fuck it. I'll do everything else. I'll do all the insurance. I'll do all the phones. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do the internet. I'll do the marketing. I'll do the finances. And she hated mail. And she's like, I don't want to check my mail. She hadn't checked her mail in months. So I went through all of her mail. I went through all her bank accounts. I cleaned everything up. All these old bills that she didn't know, she didn't pay, cleaned all those up, rebuilt the website, created a marketing campaign, hired an office manager. I did all these things. And then within 3, 4, 5, 6 months, so she was working as an associate 3 days a week. What that means is, if you're not aware of professional stuff, you come out of school and then you work for another attorney, dentist, accountant, anyone, you name a professional service, right? and they get clients, and then they give you the client, and then you're paid like, let's say 15, 20, 25, 30% of what you produce. So the client wants $2,000 in dentistry. Once you deliver the dentistry and they pay on the dentistry, that's when you get your 25% commission. So it's still pretty lucrative, and usually people coming out of school, they want something kind of very low stress. They just want to kind of hang out and chill and enjoy their life a little bit. So it works out well. They can work, less days a week, especially in the dental field, because dentistry is just crazy. The amount of money in that field is just outrageous. Dentistry is actually by far statistically the lowest risk financial like services type thing in the financial services sector, like loans and stuff like that. The number one industry that will never default and will always pay on time. Actually, on the whole world, the number one industry is dentistry, right? So dentists are they have a lot of money. They spend their money really well. They're usually very financially savvy. There's a lot of continuing education that dentists go and do that has a lot of financial related segments and stuff. So there's a lot of it's a very solid financial arena, right? So she was doing that. She was doing an associate 3 days a week. Within just a few months, she was doing like 1 day a week as an associate and like 1 day or 2 days a week with our own patients that we had for ourselves. And then by the end of 6, 7 months, 3 days a week, all of our own patients. And then within 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months, we actually got like a $600,000 loan. We built out our own space. And when I say our own space, I mean hers, because I didn't. Every single fucking thing, every single fucking marble, every single floor tile was exactly to her spec, which is correct. She's going to be there for 30 years. She even said, she's like, I love dentistry. I love New York City. I'm going to be here for 30 years. And I'm not going to be the one to come in. And I mean, it was like I'm just here to facilitate whatever you want. You know what I mean? Was kind of like my mentality on the whole thing, right? You want this, you're going to get it. I'm going to make sure you get it. That was kind of like my mentality on the whole thing, right? So that's how I got into dentistry. And that was sort of like my whole kind of timeline of how all of that kind of went down. But I was still doing courses and seminars even way beyond that, because obviously that relationship didn't work out. And like, I was kind of confused. And that's why I left New York City and came back to LA. So obviously, like, I hadn't figured it all out yet, obviously, because if I did, it wouldn't be a problem, right? But in your 20s, you don't know anything about anything. So, it's just is what it is, especially for a dude. Like, women are like, they date older men because guys in their 20s, they know penis, they know beer, they know car, and they know, maybe cell phone, and like it's totally true in my case. I swear to God, I was like, oh yeah, beer, yeah, penis, yeah, boobies, yeah. I'm telling you, like in my 20s, I swear to God, like that is so me, totally. So chicken wings, chicken wings, fucking.
Brandon the caveman.
Yeah, loud car, you got a loud car, yeah, loud car, yeah. That was, I still like loud cars, but this, so my road to understanding women and understanding sexuality and understanding all these things was super long. But the thing is that I think it's so fascinating that I still kind of get into it sometimes, and I still kind of study it, and I still kind of do little things, and I may even go out to Romania one of these years and go to the yearly Amirati conference. It's done in Bucharest, Romania in like September. I've always wanted to go, but God, it's fucking Bucharest, Romania. It's literally the opposite like pole of the fucking planet. I'm just like, I don't know. It is a part of me that's just, in my younger years, I would have gone in a heartbeat, but now I'm just a little bit more. I haven't experienced a lot of stability in my life, so like now that I'm actually stable, I'm like enjoying it so much that like the idea of just blowing all of that up to go on like a 20-something hour flight to Bucharest, Romania, and have the worst jet lag of my life and be in a place that I can't even think or any. It sounds cool and exciting. It's interesting, I'm definitely want to go, but obviously not enough to actually do it. Because if I wanted to go badly enough to actually do it,
you would
I would
go.
have fucking done it. You know what I mean? So
When is it?
September.
September. All right.
If you guys want to come with me, and I brought a bunch of women, you guys would literally be like in heaven. It's like just all really cool dudes from all over the world, all speaking all different languages.
Romania from Bulgaria.
And they just love women, and they're all goofy. We're all goofy, don't get me wrong, but they're all trying so fucking hard to love and understand the feminine spirit. Like, you guys would just be in like absolute heaven. I'm serious.
I mean, that sounds nice.
Tons of women go to it. It's not a creepy thing. It's not, I'm telling you, you think of it and you're like, it sounds kind of creepy. I'm telling you, it's totally not. It's not what it is at all. It's men really. It's a lot of what women do and guys never do. That's what it is. Women are always calling each other and calling their friends and having four-way conversations about this and that. I mean, a guy could sneeze, or a girl. It's like Sex and the City, which I watched specifically to understand women better multiple times. I've watched every single, and most guys can't even, oh no, I've never seen Sex and the City. Oh fuck no. Woo, look, dodged a bullet there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Most guys won't admit that they've even watched it because it's like, it's some gay shit, right? But the thing is, I watched it specifically because I wanted to understand women better, and then I wound up actually really enjoying it. But the thing is that it's an excellent, a woman farts. Remember when Sarah Jessica Parker farts with Mr. Big like 8 months into their relationship, and it was like the whole fucking 2 episodes is all about how it's all over, her life's over because she farted next to Mr. Big, right? It's like, this is some real shit, bro. This is and like, to women, this is totally normal. To guys, we would be like. We would be like this. Oh, cool, man. Okay, cool. Hey, let's fucking hang out tonight. You want to hang out? And we would literally like beat him half to death in like a fucking parking lot with like aluminum baseball bats to like bring him back to his senses. You see, it's like such different fucking worlds, dude.
Again, yeah, like
it's such different fucking worlds, And watching that show gave me such a holy shit kind of into the female mind. In the female world, it's totally. I mean, now it makes perfect sense to me because I've spent enough time looking at it, right? But I'm telling you, most men just don't, and vice versa. Most women don't, because the thing is you have to. I think it's easier for men to understand women if they want to than it is for women to understand men if they want to. And the reason why I say that is because women, when you take enough time to actually understand where they're at, they actually have what I would consider a much larger scope of perception and awareness when it comes to societal situations such as communication, understanding, like I said, subcommunication, body language, all these different things. There's this whole plethora of perception that men have never even known was there. Whereas, so I find that to be like fascinating. It's like, whoa, holy shit. So wait a second. Like, you noticed that from what? The way he moved his head or his neck, or when he played with his hair, when he did this, when he did that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's fascinating. It's new. It's exciting. And it's actually like advanced. And it's actually very interesting. Whereas, when a woman wants to understand a man, I feel like in a lot of those areas, she has to go like down the elevator quite a bit, like way the fuck down on the elevator.
Yeah.
And she's like looking at her watch, and she's been going down in the elevator, listening to like for like 7 minutes. And she's like, wow, okay, is this elevator ever going to fucking end and the door's going to open? So I think it can be, difficult, because it's a big risk for us to learn these things. It's a big risk for us to talk about these things. It's a big risk for us to. It's less of a risk to die in a glory of gunfire in the heat of battle than it is to actually get into this stuff and talk about it. Seriously, I'm not kidding. It sounds crazy, but
that's easier.
If actions speak louder than words, men will go to war to die before they will get into their feelings and thoughts and talk about it.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is men swing so hard too. Like a guy, here's a guy, he doesn't talk about his feelings, and then one day he wakes up, decides he's going to talk about his feelings, and then bang, you suck a dick the next day. It just swings. You know what I mean? Just like bang, you know what I mean? Like I've seen that a bunch of times too, where it's like it's so like bent up and it's so like fucking, and there's so like, obviously there's some weird, confusions and stuff there prior to that point too, right? But then they say, fuck it, and sometimes it's kind of fascinating too. You'll have a guy who's in a marriage and he's like dudes and wants to suck dick for 15 years. And then one day he says, fuck it, fuck this. He just lets everything fall apart. He blows up the family. He blows everything up. He goes off. He becomes a gay dude. He gets into a nice gay relationship. And then he's like happy and thrilled for the remainder of his life. And it's like, so you also have like that too, where it's like, it's just the guy was just so scared to be honest about what he really felt and what he really wanted that in that case, that's not even like super fucked up in my opinion. That's actually kind of like just sad. A guy who just wanted to have a good relationship with another guy who had a dick and he just wanted to suck dick. It's not a big deal. And because he felt that his job and his family and all this like would never accept that, he rode on this lie for 15 years.
Yeah.
And he had this family and he did, and then maybe secretly he was going out and doing stuff, or maybe he wasn't, but he was really struggling with it the whole time. Or even if he wasn't doing it, it was fuck, God damn it. And then finally some shit went down or this and that or whatever, and he said, fuck it. It's kind of like with age too. I've kind of gotten that more and more with age too, where it's just like, you know what, fuck it. Just let it all burn, bro. Like, it'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm going to let it all burn, and I'm just going to go off and suck some dick. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Seriously, it's like as guys get a little older, as women get a little older, we kind of get a little more like this, in my opinion, right? So it's just fascinating. It really, I feel like most all like male to female interactions and problems just really stemmed from the simplicity of like feeling shame or guilt associated with what you think or what you need or what you value or what you want, like, oh, I want a dick in my ass. Well, I could never tell anyone that. So I guess I'm just never going to, and then they just go 10, 20 years never telling anyone they want a dick in their ass. And it just gets worse because, that's what they want. You know what I mean? And so, it's just one of those things. And then what's so funny is that the funny part of life, the part that's so fucking hilarious to me, is then 20 years later, he finally says, fuck it, burns everything down, gets a dick in his ass, and then the next day he wakes up and he's like, that was fucking stupid and pointless. I just wasted the last 20 years of my life. Now that I've actually gotten a dick in my ass, it means nothing. It was only exciting because I couldn't have a dick in my ass. So now you wake up and now like the whole 20 years of your life was fucking bullshit. And now you have two choices. You can either get depressed or you can just laugh. I mean, what else can you do? So now you wake up the next day and you just laugh because you're like, well, fuck it. That was interesting. But I'm older now and I realized that was all bullshit. I mean, basically. And then from there, now they can go on with their life and have a normal gay or straight relationship or whatever they want. And now it's all gone. This, I need a dick in my ass, I can't have it, I can't tell my wife, it's all gone. Yeah. And now they can just be in a gay relationship and it's just whatever, it's just a normal ass gay relationship, or they can be in a straight relationship and it's just a normal ass straight relationship and it all meant nothing.
Oh man, we went down a tangent.
Which is crazy to me. It just shows you how crazy, what it really comes down to is people don't want to upset people. People don't want to rock the boat. People don't want to make other people uncomfortable. And I think really ultimately all this conversation comes down to is how strongly people try to make other people's lives good, other people's lives comfortable, to make other people comfortable. I think almost all of this really does just ultimately stem from the wanting to help and wanting to have a good relationship with your environment and wanting to do the right thing and, do the right thing for your friends and your family and your loved ones. And then I think that just gets derailed,
the people,
which is so sad because really ultimately, and then everybody comes in and says he's a piece of shit and he's gay and he destroyed his wife and he's a piece of shit and all. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's like, he was just trying to be a good husband, which is why he never told his wife he wanted a dick in his ass. He was just trying to be a good husband and a good father for his kids. And that's all he was trying to do. It's actually kind of heartbreaking if you think about it.
Yeah. the people pleasing, again, it goes back to the being scared of standing up for yourself. You got to really know yourself, know thyself, and then have the courage to live it.
Yeah.
Instead of just,
Yeah. I think that's why courage is the ultimate virtue. Everything else stems from it. Honesty. You got to be courageous enough to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amen to that.